Hey folks, swing plane is an important subject. It's one of the reasons why good ball strikers are good ball strikers, because they plane the golf club correctly, and it's related to body position. Today, I want to talk about a question that I've been asked on this channel about swing plane. So stick around. We're going to talk about why the club doesn't move back on exactly the same place as it does coming down. Stick around. Alright folks, hey, let's talk about swing plane here. And by the way, I'm going to go through some explanation. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about this. So if you want to hear the explanation, stick around. We're going to go through in some detail. I have to explain this stuff in some detail because it takes some explanation, because there's reasons behind everything that I teach regarding the single plane swing, and it takes some discussion to understand it. First things first is, I want you to understand about the single plane swing and the swing of Mo Norman that I teach, is that Mo was a great ball striker because of one simple fact. He could achieve impact in a consistent way, where, if you think about that for a second, what is impact? Impact's the moment that you strike the golf ball and the position of the body is consistent, which means the position of the club is consistent. So in other words, if you're going to hit the golf ball the same distance every time, the club head needs to have consistent speed, and you need to have consistent angle of shaft lean, so the ball comes off with the same speed and spin. Now, in that discussion, I spent some time at the Titleist Performance Institute, and we had long discussions about ball speed. An indication of a good player is the players that hit consistent ball speeds. And what does that mean? Consistent ball speeds mean when I take the 7-iron and I hit a golf ball with it, that it comes off at, let's say, the ball comes off at 110 miles an hour, let's say. Well, that means if every shot comes off at 110 miles an hour, that means I'm getting the same distance. So I know my distances. So there's a lot of relationship between consistency, great golf swings, and consistent ball speeds. So in that discussion right there, what I mean by that is, it's important you develop great mechanics, because great mechanics of your golf swing equate into consistent impact positions, which relate into consistent ball speeds. Then you become a good player. So I wanted to make that clear of my definition of why Mo Norman was a great ball striker. Is he achieved impact in a very consistent way, and he did that through the positions of his body. Now, let's have a discussion about Mo here. In the years I spent with him, the discussion that I had with him was, how did you learn that swing? And there's an element that I want to call natural. In other words, a natural movement of the body. And here's what I mean by that. One of the things you see different in Mo's swing, obviously, is he looks like he stands further from the golf ball. All right? Further from the golf ball. I get it. And he does stand spatially further from the ball. So you can see with the 7-iron here that I look spatially further than a guy who stands with his arms hanging straight down. However, if you think about this for a minute, at impact, so remember, I'm talking about impact here. If I stand further from the ball at address, and then I go to impact, right? The only straight line I have at impact is between the lead shoulder and the club head, because my arm is straight with the club. It's the only time I have a straight line, right? So there's my actual distance to the golf ball, that to that. Now, Mo stood a little further from the ball spatially from his feet. But let's say I'm closer to the golf ball. Now what happens is I have to go up, because I'm too close at impact. If I stand closer to the ball, I'm the same distance from the golf ball. See what I'm saying? It's on a slightly different plane, right? So, for example, Mo was here, and he impacted here. If I stand closer, I impact higher here. The club's on a steeper plane, but I'm the same distance from the ball. So keep this in mind as we discuss plane, because plane is established at address. How I set up at address establishes my swing plane. Now, I'm going to refer to common sense. Does it not make common sense to start the club at address on the same plane that you impact. Does that not make sense? I'm just going to throw that out there. Why would you start the club here if you're going to have to lift to end up on the plane? So keep that in mind. You can see my other videos and we'll talk about that. But let's talk about what I want to discuss is why the club shouldn't move back exactly on the same plane as it coming down. It's because of this spatial thing that we created. Now the way I'm going to demonstrate this, I created a product that has a training grip on it, but it's a stick and it's a spatial, it teaches you spatial relationships. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold the stick like this, and notice that the stick is so far from my body, right? So I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to point it at the golf ball down there, and I'm going to simply keep the stick the same distance from my body. I'm going to move into the backswing. Notice that my hands move to the inside. They don't move outside, right? If I want to keep the stick the same space from my body, and why do I want to do that? Because that's the same space I have at impact. See that? That space at impact, I can maintain that space here, go to the top, come down, return it to that same space. See, it's a spatial thing. Why is the spatial thing important? Because I want to be consistently able to get to impact. See that? I don't want to have to create any vertical element in my body. This is why Mo is so great, because the natural movement of the club to maintain the proper spacing, the hands will move inside and then up. Then they come down and he returns it back to the impact plane where he started, to the address plane. Watch the movement of the stick now. Same space, to the top, transition, coming down, back to the impact plane. So in other words, naturally, this is the easiest movement spatially for the body. It's the natural movement of the hands and arms in the club if I'm in the proper tilts of my body in the proper space. Now, what you don't want to do is see the club move back on the same plane, because what happens is, if I do that, my arms separate from my body and the club will go, it'll look like it's on the plane back here, but spatially the arms are too far behind the body because they're away from the body. You want to keep the same space between the arms and the body, because the body is controlling what the arms do. I know a lot of you deal with this. If you see the club in the backswing, if you go back and the club's too flat, it's because the arms are too far away from the body. You'll see that a lot in people that try to swing it back to the same plane and downswing. So what I want you to basically understand is that you can grab a stick like this, and you can even do it with a golf club. You can grab your golf club, make sure that you have it in the proper alignment with the lead arm, grab the shaft, see how it's up against my body, right about there, right above my hip. And now watch, the natural movement of this club moves it to the inside. See that? There's the natural movement of the club. It's going to go naturally in, then up, and then down. So the arm position down is different than the arm position going back because of the natural spacing of the arms. Now, why would the hands not be in the same place coming down as going back? Because your torso is in a different rotation at those 2 points. So in other words, when I go back, see the arms are in, right? Because my torso's in this rotation. This is my torso rotation. When I come down, see the torso's in this rotation, more open, the hands will be more out. So it needs to go slightly in, slightly out. That's what has to happen. Now people are going to say that's over the top. It's not over the top, because never at any time does the club head go over top of the plane. So if you watch the swing here, the club goes in and it comes down, and the club never goes over top. All right? So over the top does not mean that the hands have to travel in the same path. It means the club head has to travel correctly in the downswing. This is why Mo is such a great ball striker, because there's a natural motion to what he did. He wasn't fighting, trying to get the club on plane. The plane was naturally occurring because of his ideal address, his alignments, his tilts, and then the club naturally moved based on his body position back and down. And this club is referencing the impact plane the entire time. So it's a natural movement of the club. This is why Mo is so great. Too many of us, when we're learning the golf swing, are trying to force ourselves into positions. It's pretty simple to do, really. All you have to do to make this natural is get the club in the ideal address, turn it back, and then turn it down. And that ball's flying perfectly straight with zero side spin. And that's a 7-iron going about 160.